tous azimuts. Peuple congolais, il est temps de nous lever, de nous serrer les coudes et d'agir pour défendre notre patrie, notre intégrité territoriale et l'intangibilité de nos frontières. La République démocratique Batela Ekolo, Bindele Koyakte.
Bonsoir, bonsoir, bonjour, c'est Congo News 24. Bande Konanga, comme toujours avant de commencer notre émission, nous disons merci à Dieu. Nous disons merci à nos chers abonnés et téléspectateurs qui nous suivent partout dans le monde et en RDC. Bande Konanga, soyez les bienvenus. À la une, chers téléspectateurs, on va commencer cette émission Bandeko si le président rwandais a sala qui intervient après signature il y a accord. Bandeko makamboza grave parce que akomena suka Donald Trump na batunaye ba moni pena ke oui tango koki était makambo oyo to komana suka. Alors interview bandaki abani ko expliquer makambo. Alors makambo za minene bomona comment Trump asali masolo oyo Kagame akoloba nyonso. Donc asa sumuta tembete Kagame bukani totalement. Bon comprendre que ça c'est un autre Kagame. Avançons. Chers téléspectateurs, émission na bise bandi et comme étant tout cela ensemble ma solo yamboka. Bandeko lelo émission spéciale. Bokoyoka comment Kagame a komena suka. Président Félix vraiment coincé tellement trop. Alors bakora Washington tokoyoka ba vérité awa. Kagame andimakate andimi. Kagame alobi que vraiment oyo Trump a sali tozo koma na fin de la guerre. Kagame oyo kaza ko accepter makambo nano accepta te. Kagame alobi ke oye salami nano akota na makambo aboyeti. Nano pe a salama makambo aboyeti. Donc, jemo Kagame zolekela ye na ndenge Trump amemi makambo oyo. Ale ba président te bele ba mekaki kutu baza ko condamner ye ke ye muta memangwe pa Trump alobi ezangate eza président Félix muta meme pa Trump. Donc Kagame chaos technique. C'est un autre Kagame. Akoloba nini? Oyo Trump akati yo ya ko critiquer. Alobi nyonso. Alobi ke ezo mona ke za fin de la guerre. Makamu nyonso. Fin de la guerre. Tango Kagame azondima makambo bandeko. Bolanda be crier kozana français so vraiment. Ezaki toko passe zolo en anglais comme d'habitude, mais be crier en français. Bon, comprendre to expliquer très bien. Osomona. Kagame abandi na dossier wana ndenge bakenaki na doa. Aliko kena bango na doa fachi mutamemaki bango. Selon yindenga zoloba fachi président américain mutatine bomba kende kuna. Do fachi mutasala ki masolo nyonso wana po bakene na doa. Selon yi makambo esila. Alors, yabi akoya akendeki. Président Trump a convoqué Kibango. Selon ye Kagame azolwa ke président Fachi mutasala kindengwana. Alors, maintenant Trump a convoqué bomba kene doa. Alobi Trump aza sage. A kaboli ya doa na président Fachi e koto yo Rwanda na RDC. Alors, alobi ke eza makambo nanu akota amona nan makambo boyiti. Mais azan espoir ki makambo ekosila. Toyoka ye Bon, après tout expliquer, on le souvient. Avançons. Toutes ces quelques explications parce que ezama kamoko historique. On ne croyait pas, ça dit Kagame andima kiti ki akokoma na niveau oyo ya makambo oyo. Parce que ezama kaminene komona koma makambo ndenge leki yepo na ye Kagame amoni pena ki oui en tout cas et comme nasuka. Donc il faut pena andima accepter makambo oyo. Ayebi ke soka ndimite parce que monde koloba. Bakopesa efoti. Il faut y accepter que makambo oyo ici. Alega kina Algérie. Tukotanga yango. Et ça, dans le nouveau rapport, on dit makambo tu ebini. Alors, sokozotala Kagame aza coincé. Aza na choité. Aza obligé à koloba. Accord de Washington, Paul Kagame exprime l'espoir d'un tournant pédira pour la région. Le président rwandais Paul Kagame, dans une interview accordée à Al Jazeera, le rôle déterminant joué par la diplomatie américaine dans la médiation entre Kigali et Kinshasa, selon lui, les accords provisoires signés le 4 décembre ouvrent une perspective réelle de la sortie de crise. Estime que la méthode du président Trump, fondée sur des accords transactionnels visant des résultats immédiats et concrets, offre davantage de chances de réussite et les approches traditionnelles centrées sur les principes de démocratie et des droits humains. Le chef de l'État rwandais affirme avoir jamais vu un niveau de concentration, d'attention, d'énergie et de pression comparable à celle exercée par Washington dans ces dossiers. Il voit dans cette implication un signe d'encourageant pour stabiliser les relations entre la RDC et le Rwanda, longtemps marquées par des tensions persistantes et des affrontements récurrents. Pour Kigali, ces accords constituent ainsi une opportunité de consolider un climat de confiance. Donc, Kagame a un problème parce que yepo na ye aloyi pena ke makambo oyo ekosimba. Fallait kaka loba parce que ye moko ayebi ete niveau makambo ezali, il faut accepter que makambo esalama ndenge wana. Kagame a en tout cas komi na suka. Donc tango azoloba yango au sentir que ce monsieur a komi na suka. Et comme étant oyo kaka ndima, aza fatigué. Donc oyo kaka lembi naba M23 na ye masole komi na suka. Toyo kaye bon to avance.
Mr. President, very good to see you again, and thank you for joining Al Jazeera for this show. Look, we're on the verge of you signing a major agreement with the DRC, with President Trump, that people are calling a historic agreement. What makes this agreement so important from Rwanda's perspective?
Well, the story about the conflict goes a long way, many years, and we have never had anything like this where there is focus, there is attention to this level, where the two leaders of the two countries, Rwanda and DRC, have come to meet with the President of the United States, who has paid attention to this program, and the amount of visibility, energy, maybe pressure and, to resolve this problem has never been like this before. And then the basis on which it is being addressed is also interesting. It really touches elements that are fundamental if one wants to address this conflict, starting with understanding the root cause, but also building on the three elements they brought up, which is political, security, economic. I think it captures everything, at least in terms of the theory. What remains is the practice or the implementation part of it. That's where always the complications arise from.
What is different about this moment with President Trump's involvement in this administration?
Well, I should say, there are two different situations where the narrative is about being connected with the problems of Africa, then putting that in the general framework of what we know is the global order, or what we have known for quite some time, then theories about all kinds of things, democracy, freedom, this, and human rights, and so on and so forth. But for many years, we have seen that these have remained stories and theories, but in practice, you don't see that translate into improvements of many countries or people's lives, say, on our continent. Then you have the other, which focuses on some tangible things, if it is trade, different economic interests, how they translate into improvements of people's lives, and focusing on the real things. And, well, as people have said, looking at the transactional nature of what do you give, what do you gain, what are the results, that makes it easy to measure what you're getting out of any engagement. I think, in my personal opinion and experience from our own situation, Rwanda's or the regions, I prefer the latter. I find there are things you get out of that, but the other ones is just, in fact, sometimes the first one I mentioned, sometimes it just increases problems that have to be managed, and managing those problems becomes an industry in itself that keeps going forever. But when you look at what is happening on the ground, or if you are to ask people and the experiences, and they will tell you their situation their lives have not changed. If anything, maybe they got worse. So I don't want to go too much into this because I understand also that the main responsibility is with us. We must be the ones there to make whatever opportunity available work for us, or even absence of opportunity. Still, we've got to find a way of doing what is meaningful to us. So I always don't want to put the blame on others. Maybe they carry the blame, sometimes a lot of it. But this blame is probably also invited by our absence in dealing with our affairs, in carrying our responsibilities the way we should. So absent all that, I think I don't want to blame anybody.
Has President Trump now gotten into Africa? Is he into turning this situation both into economic gains for the U.S., but also, a peace notch for him?
Well, if this is anything to act as an example, I think that is the case. The very fact that President Trump found time and got interested and invited us and other leaders who will be witnessing this and who have been involved in the processes before, I think one can give credit for that. Many other issues that are talked about or raised by different people, whether they have their merits or not, I want to focus on areas where I think we can have progress and that can address the outstanding problems that we face today.
Another key player, Mr. President, has been Qatar. And around this, there have been two processes, two tracks, if you will. And my understanding is the United States has been dealing with the nation-to-nation, bilateral issues, and Qatar has been helping a lot on internal issues. Can you tell us a little bit, can you give us a feel for how this works? Because it's sort of an unusual kind of simultaneous dance.
So, fortunately, fast forward, we were able to separate this. The internal dialogue matters went to Qatar, and that came following my meeting with President Tshisekedi in Doha, by the way, on his own request. Even with the US, it was his own request. And in fact, the other African leaders and countries were blaming Rwanda, thinking that we are the ones who left the African processes, initiatives, and went to Qatar or came here to Washington. But it was the very man, Tshisekedi, DRC, who actually initiated that. But the hope for him was he would be able to manipulate either the process in Qatar or the process in Washington, D.C. in his favor, because he thinks DRC is too great, too big, that the whole world is interested in having a portion of what they possess, and that he would go paying his way and manipulating people to get the results he wanted. So, but when it came to us, and we were invited to participate either in Doha and here in Washington, we always came forward, but we told people what we thought were the facts and the fundamental issues that must be addressed if we are to look at the root causes. So that's how we ended up having FCM 23 in Doha, talking to government, and then here it was DRC talking to Rwanda, but also in a regional framework. That's why there will be these leaders who have been invited to witness this. So what DRC all along thought they were going to manipulate ended up, as a matter of fact, being separated so that we don't miss out anything that was important. So Doha, very important. Qatar has been near the forefront in trying to bring conflicting parties together, not only in our region, but you are aware of many other places where they have played a very important role. And they are continuing to do so. They are available, they have resources to put to that, and want really peace. So we are happy that these things have been moving forward.
So just real quick, I'm just interested in what your gut feeling is. On one hand, you're going to sign an agreement with President Trump, President Tshisekedi, that is about the national issues. And do you trust Tshisekedi's ability to actually control that section of all the currents going on in Eastern DRC?
Well, first things first. I think that we are here and are agreeing to sign an agreement to deal with the matters. That is very important, and it is the first step to be taken. And some agreements have been reached in Doha as well, in Qatar. That's very important. So that means we are now trying to move the next steps and move forward. That's where, of course, the devil is in these details. But we'll face all of that as we move forward. But as I said, first things first. And that one, we are here, we are going to discuss, we're going to sign an agreement. I hope that both Qatar and the United States will continue to accompany this process and see what is happening for what it is. And I'm sure if they find Rwanda is to blame for anything, they voice it, they come to us, they say, should we be doing this, and this is not what we agreed. And hoping the same will happen to DRC, because we have had experiences where DRC has been reaching an agreement with different parties, including ourselves, and the next day, after agreeing, they are saying the opposite. And it has happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but more. So we know we have to face this. We know that is likely to happen. But it shouldn't divert us from the actual direction that is on a good start, and that we have to move forward. So we keep step by step seeing what we need.
President, the new great race in Washington is the race with China. Concern about dependencies, worry about critical materials, worries about national security and economics. And I know that a big part of your evolving relationship with the United States are critical materials sales. You produce tungsten, tin, other key materials. How are you fitting in, if you are, into that equation of the Trump administration's interest in competing in a lot of this this footprint around critical materials and other issues in trade?
Well, I'll not talk much about the competition that is going on across the world. It's too much for me to carry on my shoulders. I just I can make an analysis for you and move on, but I won't waste my time on that. I want to concentrate on this problem we have in our region that involves all countries in our region, but particularly Rwanda and the DRC. You know, people have falsely believed that everything that DRC is known to have is only in the DRC, nowhere else. So if you talked about minerals in Rwanda, and they do exist, people would just say, no, this is not Rwanda's, it is from DRC. Like you have said, whether tungsten, tin, tantalum, it's all of these exist in Rwanda. In fact, of super quality, much better than you would find in other places, like tungsten. I think we are now number 4, I'm told, in the world, if not first in Africa. We produce that. And this came to our knowledge for quite some time. We have had a company that is US-based, Trinity Metals, that actually made the findings and has invested over a long time and has been mining and always improving on how much they can process within the country and so on and so forth. So this has now come out clearly that whatever we have in this area has nothing to do with the DRC. It is Rwanda's. Even other areas, we have beryllium, we have other critical minerals, lithium, and so on and so forth. These are essentially critical minerals, and have some gold. Maybe Congo, DRC, has more gold than we do, but we have gold. So it can't be seen that every gold we
The price is high right now.
yes, that every gold we export is coming from DRC. But if anything, the neighboring countries, the other neighboring countries to DRC, actually from DRC through those countries, there is much, much bigger volume than anything that goes through Rwanda. But Rwanda is always picked on, and that relates to this conflict and other problems I've had in history. Just trying to play a blame game against Rwanda and then cover up everything else that goes on under that, like even support for FDLR and many things that happen. But this includes some international players. When we're talking about this, we don't just mean Burundi, Uganda, or whatever, no. We mean these big countries in the Western Hemisphere. They are part of that. And the way they play the game of covering up for FDLR and the tragedy that happened in Rwanda and try to apportion, responsibility elsewhere is staggering. You can't understand why that would happen. And then this translates also then in the blame game around minerals or lack of stability in our region. But if you look at also the whole region, we have protected our country, we have continued to grow it and made sure that we are not part of the instability or the source of it, because you can't do that. At the same time, you want to create a better environment for yourself. So, but people keep dragging us into this for their own reasons I don't understand.
President Trump has defined himself as a person trying to achieve peace in a lot of different conflicts. Do you think that President Trump, that you, President Tshisekedi, should be given some consideration by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee?
No. Well, others could be considered, not myself. I don't think I'm there.
How about President Trump?
I don't think I'm there or there yet, so I reserve it for. But why not? President Trump, given what he has done in a short time and trying to stabilize things, the effort he has here put into it, knowing that some of these things, by the way, you wouldn't find answers to these complex problems as an individual, even powerful as the United States is and the President of the United States, you cannot deliver results alone. You also, that's why some of the things, the failures arising out of them, that's why I said we are the ones to blame. If there is a conflict between Rwanda and the DRC and somebody is trying to help and we don't find a solution to that, I don't think you blame the one who was trying to help.
Do you have a good vibe with President Trump?
I think I would, even the first time, his first term and this time around, I think, I like people for wanting to have results and making, but there are many people in this world who say nice things and end up with nothing and have made it a habit for so many years. But the people you might blame for this or that, sometimes they are practical in getting the results, and like in this case, we stand a much bigger chance to have good results of resolving the problems in our region and between the DRC and Rwanda than I have known before, because before there was too much talking about and blame game, played around for too long, but ending up with nothing. President Trump has taken it up, and hopefully, we can only be hopeful that, but he shows good intention, he wants to try, so we should support this to succeed, knowing that he's not the one to deliver the good results 100%, while those of us who are party to this are sitting back and not doing our part.
Well, President Kagame, thank you so much for talking to Al Jazeera.
It's a pleasure.
Bandeko tolandiye yango tozoesa ba Congo letala omoni tatu akomene na suka sobolandiye très bien bandi a expliquer ndenge ni bakena kina do Trump mtatinda ibango fachi mutakena okutana Trump selonde ya zoluba ke ba initiative ya président Félix bolanda parce ba Congolais belé mala boyo ke pa Kagame yemo ay ba initiative ya président Félix monte comme si bango na niveau baza si quoi bakisi alobi ke fachi akanza ko manipuler bango ma manipuler bango te makambo ekepena na ordre boyoki. Comment Fachi a manipulé Trump? Comment Fachi a manipulé Devoile? Amoni penza. Et puis à l'œil makambo ebele batuniye. Ah bo signé na Tshisekedi. Ozana confiance na yi. À l'œil makambo ebele zakiso to sali bo ebele échanger. Mais oyo nazo mona kezo kenango bien parce que baba na ya kutala songa ba ya okutanga. Mais pourquoi wabo? Bakepa na ye pourquoi wabo? Donc bango tout baza coincé tala bandeko makamba est wana to vanda nye to tika makelele so Kagame komondi make pesili ebele baza komona okaka boye baza ondi mateke yango esili akomi na suka Kagame azesu na shwati tangu na munoko ne akomolo makamba boye mais c'est grave. Bandeko, en anglais, mais on comprendre que traduction, mais donc aza pena na situation moko. O mona kila mutu mayele sili. To kome na poa miniri. Alobi bimi clairement te biso pe to za ba miniri. Abi so ba monika grand pays, biso mo pays amuke, ba miniri nyo se zo uta edisi. Nefse bino ki bo bossa na makawa balkanisation. Kagame andimi kozana position aza batie na position c'est-à-dire makambo tu eza koleka entreprise moko américaine eza akuna entreprise wana mutu esali ba makambo tu ba entre batu wana batu penda oyo kaka babomi biso entreprise américaine moko ya metal wana ya autocité baza travailler na ye Kagame alors akomolo akiba minerera ye pazana alo ke biso to yebi kazane na ngoti kakobo yibi na EDC boyebo salo kola min moko boy tatana zana ba scénario amonta min na ye bomona pe batu na kata libulu na bikoti ba scénario ba montage adeko ezo salama wa Tao Natali Nabi non, ce n'est pas possible. Tao na omona makamba boye nabi vraiment tatonzo kanda zaboyi mais eloko émission to mi emporter sabino ki Kagame andimi ke masulango ezosila amoni pena que oui c'est la fin makambo comme nango na suka a accepté yango ndenge makambo babongisaki pe ndenge bitokena omoni ke président rwandais aza suna shwate babimakamu nyonso bamemaki na mboka na biso lelo tokomi wapi il a tout accepté Kagame amoni ke voilà il fallait kaka boye alobi président Trump ndenge amemi yango alongoli na kobanga makambo abisi ndenge kaka amemi makambo oyo tomoni ke réussite ekozala po batuni so compare na mosu abi te oyo aye ekosimba pasi atushe bapoint nyonso aye makambo ado wana mpe ekosi ata yebisaki bino bapantin bayokela tata na bango oyoka na do ezosila nango makambo sili okay. La paix ezozonga à l'est oyo bitumba boyokaka na sud kivu aka bamakelele tala bavillage mosu wana FARDC arécupere yango lisusu na sud kivu barécupere yango donc pour voir que Kagame akomi coincé parce lelo ye mo abisi vérité kenya tokómi pa tokómi lelo eza président Félix moto amemaki bango donc cedi ye moko alingai nemba makambo pena te me aza ashwa te faci pena moto asalaki tout tokóma na niveau tokómi et puis Kagame andimi yango a accepté po bakende dowa eza kaka États-Unis baaméricain pression na bango ti bakende États-Unis basigné alobi façon de ya me makambo yango donc ye moko ezolekela ye ante toyesa bakongole ntango ekoki match oyo ezalaki match moko ya biso mena tokoki yango bana mboka baminere critique Kagame akomokosaka azalaka nango ese azalaka nango non eza lokuta ok maintenant asigné na biso makambo yango ezobanda Kagame lokola azala na bakliya na ye makambo na ebele akoma mpe na suka so akoma ondima ouvertement na kati ya télévision Al Jazeera chaîne ya monene boye Kagame andimi nyonso donc voilà comment la fin ya masolo alors tolandi Kagame biso toexplike yango bien landa osu tiango traduction ya video yo mo comprendre ke Kagame akomi na suka c'est à ce point comment clôturer mission na biso bon continuer ko s'abonner au revoir à la prochaine.